Yep, we're doing it. Today, we're gonna be putting Amazon race car bucket seats in a bass boat. Jordan, why are you putting car seats in a bass boat? I can see the comments now. They're not gonna be waterproof. They're not made for marine applications. The who, what, when, where, and why? Well, the main reason, honestly, is because I'm cheap. For me to get seats for this boat cost me upwards of $2,000, and I only paid $3 grand for the boat. So, I went on Amazon, as I do every time I can't afford something, and I found these guys right here. 2 seats was $250, and let me tell you, they are absolutely beautiful. So not only was this a cheap alternative, but it was also like the best color I could find that would match the boat. And I just like to do things out of the norm. If I can ever get these out of here. So check it out. We got some beautiful leather Amazon bucket seats. Now, the biggest issue with these seats is the fact that just the back is 36 inches tall. And well, if I threw these in a bass boat, they would look absolutely ridiculous. So I'm gonna show you guys what we're gonna do to make this work. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take this bucket seat, we're gonna pull it apart. I believe these should be zip-on. So the goal is to separate the top and bottom, pull the fabric off, and then we're gonna take a Sawzall and cut it completely in half with hopes to only have this much seat left so that it's the normal size of a bass boat seat. Now you guys are probably wondering how this is possible. Well, my mom is a heck of a sewer. She makes furniture all the time. So I'm gonna give her a call and see if she can figure out a way to like upholster these back together with the material that she has here. So probably gonna be the only person that's ever done this and willing to try this, but hey, $250 for 2 quality leather seats in the bass boat, or I could have paid $2,000 for something custom. We're balling on a budget here, and I think we can make it work. So let's get this thing taken apart. Just like that, we have disconnected the top of the seat. You got to remove all the staples, and then from there, you can access the zippers to unzip everything. As much as I want to show you guys how to cut this thing in half, it's pretty self-explanatory. You rip the fabric off. There's 2 metal bars here and a bunch of foam, and you just run the Sawzall through it. I'm just gonna drop this off at her house so that she can do what she wants with it. She's the expert at this, not me. I'll try and get some video of whatever she decides to do so that we can show you. We're gonna hop in the front of the boat and get some things installed that I haven't got done yet. So to mom she goes. So while my mom is working on sewing up those seats, I still have a lot of work to do. You guys will notice the front of the boat, it's missing something. And if you didn't already guess, yes, it's the trolling motor. So we're not running anything fancy when it comes to trolling motors. All I'm gonna do is mount a Minn Kota Edge. I have my old one from the Bass Cat sitting right here on the floor. I don't got the money to buy anything fancy. And honestly, I've never had anything fancy, so I'm cool with it. You know, I probably didn't put the 6x6 in the best spot ever, but this guy has to go right about here. Alrighty, now it's starting to look like a bass boat. Now I think it's time that we hitch up the boat, we get it out of the garage. This motor hasn't been started in months, and it's never been on the water. So we're gonna try and change out that oil reservoir to try and get that alarm off. And honestly, I don't know what else we're gonna run into in the process of this. So here goes nothing. Still crazy to me. Literally a few months ago, the boat was sitting in the same place in my driveway, looking like a completely different boat. Even the cowling. Mind-boggling what a little bit of elbow grease and dedication does. Okay. So supposedly this guy right here is causing the majority of our problems. If you guys didn't see the other videos, essentially when I turn the key, after you wait a little while, if it beeps 4 times, that means there's an issue with your oil reservoir, which it does. I'm gonna go ahead and just pull this off. I got a new one right here to install. Don't know too much about how these systems work. I've never had an OptiMax before. I've only had just typical EFI 2-strokes, and none of them ever had a tank like this. I believe these are a little bit different because they're direct fuel injection. So I guess we'll see. Out with the old and in with the new. We got the new oil tank in there. We filled it up to the tippy top because that's what everybody expresses that you have to do. And I guess all we have left to do is start it. It's so weird to me that there's no primer or anything on the oil tank. It just like gives me anxiety. I love a good two-stroke, but I'm just not a fan of just mixing in the engine. I'd rather have pre-mix so that I know everything's lubed up correctly. Honestly, if it were me and I could afford it, I'd probably get a 4-stroke, but back in the day, 2-strokes were the creme of the creme, I guess. So, all right, let's hook it up to Mumps and see if this thing runs after like 8 months. Now, we find out if she runs after like 8 months. Whew, moment of truth. I hope the beeping stopped and I hope she starts because it's been 8 months. Wow, first key turn. It doesn't have a ton of gas in it, but now we wait and see if that noise goes off. After it would run for a little bit, it would have an alarm where it would beep 4 times, and that was supposedly due to that oil tank. It sounds like it's running pretty good. I'm gonna put it in gear, see what happens. First key turn. It's beautiful. There's one more thing we have to do before we can start getting those seats installed, and that is going to be this guy right here, the Mercury Vessel View. I'm pretty excited for this because this is gonna not only replace all my gauges, but this thing darn near works like an OBD reader. It has check engine light notifications and stuff like that. So to be honest, I think this is really what's gonna tell me if the engine's running good or not. We're gonna plug this guy in and then see what comes up on the iPad. So check this out, here's the Vessel View. It's as simple as a plug, from what I understand. You're gonna find the terminator cap on your motor, like this guy right here, and then you just pop it off. And then you just take your Vessel View and it supposedly just clicks right in, just like that. And then I believe I'm just gonna mount this guy. So we got the Vessel View hooked up, installed. We got the hose on. We're gonna start the motor. I'm gonna show you guys how this works because it's super cool. I love the sound of that thing when it fires up. So we're good, we're running. I brought the iPad inside the garage so that you guys can see it. You'll see on the screen, the tachometer's running at 560. It'll go up to like 600. That's actually really funny because before it was running faults. See right here? There's 3 engine faults. Now it's running fine. So we got 3 and they're all sensor related. If I click on the first one, that had to do with the trim, probably because it's out of the water. For the second one, it says seawater temperature sensor is not working properly. 541-24. What the heck does that mean? Is my motor about to overheat? I don't really know. The only thing I can think of is maybe it's getting too hot and the thermostats aren't working properly. All I know is that motor's supposed to be like 130. Maybe something's wrong, but maybe not. I did some research off camera, and a lot of people said some of the older model Mercuries will throw codes simply because the technology is not updated enough. So like, let's say there wasn't actually a sensor in there for seawater temperature, then it's gonna throw that code and you just have to ignore it. So let me know, I have a 2006 Mercury Optimax 200. Do you think it's throwing a code because something's actually wrong or not? Ultimately, I feel like I need to put the boat in the water because if it is overheating, it'll throw an alarm while I'm driving it, which will tell me that this is true. So that was the first one. The next code it threw was fuel sensor is not working properly. It's really low on gas, so I'm guessing it's probably just not reading it, or the wiring that are on the fuel tank just aren't good. So that's that one, not a huge deal. Then the last one is oil level sensor in oil tank is not working properly. So it's saying the sensor in the oil tank that I just replaced 2 seconds ago is not working. The difference is the old tank, it threw the actual alarm at the dashboard. The new one, it's not throwing an alarm. So I'm thinking once again, the sensor's just not in the tech of the motor because of the year that it is. But I want to know what you guys think in the comments. Other than that, everything seems to be running sound and the app works really good. The second you turn the key, whether the motor's on or not, as long as it's got power, it'll run all those diagnostics to you. The last thing that I want to do to the front of the boat is install some LED strip lights. If you guys have never done this, it's very simple. I'm gonna go ahead and put those on right now. And then when I'm done, I'll show you guys kind of how I went about doing it. But when it comes to stuff like this, personally, to each their own. I think you guys just do what you want to do. Whatever you think is gonna look best, do it. And there we have it. It's as simple as peel and stick. But I do want to point out how convenient these LED strips are. Not only are they waterproof and marine rated, but you can clip them at every single copper attachment. If you guys have never used these before, you have to make sure you do it on that exact spot. Otherwise, you'll ruin all the lights. But check this out. If you guys see right here, that's where I cut it, and it happened to be perfect edge to edge on the boat. All the way up at the top here, you guys will see where all my wiring is. There's a wire on each LED strip. This was one big long one, and I just cut it in half. I added my own wire to extend from there so that I could run it to the switch that is right here. The plan is to drill a hole here, run the wiring down into the boat, and then have it come out this switch. To make it simple for you guys, you take your switch. I already pre-wired everything. It's as simple as adding your ground, adding the power to the switch, which will make the light switch come on. That's just the LED and power for that. Then we'll take our power to our lights and add that to the switch as well. So when I turn it on, boom. Super easy plug and play right to the battery. Now I just got to drill the hole for the wire to go through and put the switch in the panel. So now that everything's done, we have to create custom mounts for these seats. They are originally meant to bolt into your adjusting mount that goes in your car. So you know, you pull the thing up in the middle, it goes back a couple notches, locks, goes forward, locks. Well, the way that those mounts work isn't compatible with my boat. So I went to Home Depot and I picked up a 4-foot piece, a 3/4 angle. This is 1 inch by 3/4. This piece is square tube, and then I have just regular angle. So the angle is gonna mount to the seat, and then this tube is gonna mount into the boat. From there, I'm gonna attach this on here, like so. We're gonna put screws down into the boat, and then we're gonna attach the seat by putting screws on the side. It's kind of more complex than that, but I'll show you guys how I did it. This was a pretty awesome idea. All it required was a 4-foot piece of tube and a 4-foot piece of angle. It's gonna look somewhat clean. It's not gonna be perfect, but the best part was these seat mounts for both seats are gonna cost me $15, as opposed to about $200 if I were gonna buy seat mounts online that didn't even do what I wanted them to do. So I made my marks for the seat mounts right there and right there. I also number which piece is which so that when I drill them together, I know which one goes with which. So you guys will see that one's 1 and 1. This one is 4 and 4. So as you guys can see here, you can see all the way through the square tube. One end is big and one end is small. The reason I have a bigger hole on one end is so that it can fit over these screws. So you guys will see we have the angle mounted, and then these guys are gonna slip right over top, and boom, they're like locked on there. Doing that is gonna allow it to sit flush on the mount. And the way that the seat's gonna stay mounted is I'm going to thread bolts through the side so that it stays in place. I'll straight up show you guys because I tested this already. I wasn't gonna give you a sneak peek, but what the hey. Sometimes I gotta test these things before actually filming them so that I can do it right. So you guys will see this seat base is already mounted. If you look down here, you'll see there's a bolt here and a bolt here. So essentially you can unscrew that and pull the seat off, and you can screw it in to tighten it. Now I know what you're thinking. I used one of these guys right here. I don't know if you can tell. Don't remember what this is called, but it's like a drill bit that threads bolts. When I bought the 6x6, all the hubs were screwed up and I had to drill them all out. So I actually went online and bought a ton of grade 8 hardware. This is 5/16 bolts. I bought them for the 6x6 and then bought this guy to be able to thread them in there properly because all the threads were messed up. So I just reused those bolts. It's cool, you can get them threaded in there, and if you want to pull it off, you just take a socket wrench, back them out, and we're good to go. So I'm going to continue doing this one, and then I'll show you guys how to mount it in the actual bolt because I had a certain way that I had to mount it in there as well. Very tricky kind of scenario, but I went in the hardware store, came up with this in my head, and so far so good. You guys will see the railings right here. I just marked them, and now we're gonna drill holes and we're gonna add in riv nuts. If you guys have never used a riv nut, basically what this allows you to do is put threads inside something. I'm going to do this carefully so that I don't screw up. So we're gonna drill some holes and then I'll show you guys how to put a riv nut in, just because it's kind of fun. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your riv nut, put it on your riv nut tool, screw it on there, and then you just put it in the hole like so, close it with your hands, and it smooshes in there. Boom. So now, just put these through like so. We're gonna take our screw and our Allen key and just thread it in there. So the mounts are in, and now all we gotta do is line up the seat. Cool beans. One, two. See, I have another one back here. We're gonna put that one in, and our seats will be locked down. Alrighty folks, now that the bases are mounted in, a week later, we have the final product for the seats. I'm super stoked about this. It ended up being way harder than planned. Shout out to my mom. I would have not been able to do this without her. We took Amazon bucket seats and turned them into bass boat seats for 250 bucks. So check it out. Here is the final product. My mom did a pretty killer job reupholstering these. I wish I could have showed you guys a little bit more on how we accomplished this, but to be honest with you, I just wanted my mom to take her time and do what she does best. She doesn't upholstery. She just likes to like restore furniture for fun, so I threw this idea at her and she did a really good job. So now we gotta get them installed. So the way that these mount are just like a car seat. There's a bracket here on the side and they just screw into the side of the seat. So I'm not even gonna show you guys that. It's like 3 bolts. I'm gonna throw them on, show you guys the finished product. I'll give you guys my overall opinion on if I think this is worth it or not. Boom! We officially have seats. It actually looks like a boat now. Check it out. Oh, nice and comfortable. The best part about these being car seats, I'm sure boat seats have these, but if you guys take a look, I pull this lever down here. If I need to scoot up, I can do that. If I need to recline back, oh, I'm big chillin', you know? So anybody who wants to do this or try and attempt this, to give you the long story short, I bought seats on Amazon, ones that I thought would look good in the boat. From there, I removed the seat covers. They were zip-on, so I took all the hardware off, unzipped it, and then me and my dad took a Sawzall and we cut the seat just straight in half at the measurement that I made. Since everything was zipped off, my mom kind of just freestyled it. I showed her a picture, said, hey, these are what bass boat seats look like. This is what size I need them to be. And she did her best to make that happen. I'm not gonna sit here and explain to you guys how she sewed it. It would have been cool to show you on video, but it took her like 2 weeks. It was not easy. So I just wanted her to take her time, let her do her thing, but that was it. I know it wasn't easy, and I know not everybody's in my situation where they just have a mom that can like whip stuff up like that. So hey, I guess I'm lucky, but I don't think it's impossible for everyone. It was a way, I saved like $700 doing it with my mom that way. So huge, huge upgrade. Let me know what you guys think of the color. I wanted to do something a little bit different. I didn't exactly want it to clash with the sea deck, but I also couldn't necessarily find seats that matched the sea deck exactly. So I think it's unique. I think it's cool. This boat is gonna be sweet, and it's just about ready for the water. Now that the seats are in, we have one thing left, and that is going to be the custom center console. I needed something that I could step on, that I could put my wallet in, things like that. I called up my boys over at TBN. Nate, shout out Nate. I could not do any of this without him. He's gonna be custom making me a console that even you guys at home can buy for your boat. So there's gonna be more on that in the next video, but we're taking this boat out of the garage. We're gonna give it a wash, a wax, a polish, and I will do a full overview on everything that we've done to this boat in the next video. And then after that, we're taking it for a rip on the water. We're gonna do a speed test. We're gonna fish on it. You guys are gonna get to see this thing live in action. I am really excited to rip around on the 200. I've never had a boat with this much power, and we've also never ran the motor. So for all I know, this whole project could be botched. It's crazy that we've never put the boat in water since picking it up, and we've done all this work. So if you guys want a discount on boat stuff, hit the link in the description below. You can also use my code to save some money. Tiny Boat Nation has been a huge supporter of this channel. I could not do anything without them, and they make all the best stuff you guys can find for boat building. So I'd appreciate it if you guys would click that link, show them some support. But with that being said, we'll see you in a couple of days with a full breakdown of the new bass boat.